All right, thanks for tuning in to this late night update on Tropical Storm Isaac. As of 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Isaac was sustained at 60 miles per hour. As you can see down here, this is where the center of circulation is. The movement is northwest at 17 miles per hour. Center of location was 22.1 north and 77.2 west. And so we're continuing to watch this. Here's the National Hurricane Center's official forecast track, bringing it up right between the kind of right up the Florida Strait here, eventually curving it back around to the north and northeast, making landfall probably in the Destin, Florida area, but somewhere right now between Panama City and Pensacola. But there is a larger forecast cone area, especially once it gets into the central Gulf. So really anywhere from New Orleans all the way over to the Tallahassee area looking to be under the gun, and this is subject to change. Going on over, this is the current satellite, and this is the infrared satellite, and we have a lot of deep convection starting to blow up around Isaac here. The eye is sitting about right out in here with these counterclockwise winds spinning, and we are starting to see some good convection starting to blow up on the north and northwest side of the eye wall, and that is a good idea that this storm could be starting to strengthen once again. Going on over, we do have hurricane warnings, watches, tropical storm warnings, and watches here, and I want to pull those off and we'll go down the list of them. We do have hurricane warnings in effect for the Florida Keys, including the Dry Tortugas, the west coast of Florida from Bonita Beach southward to Ocean Reef, as well as Florida Bay. So really these places you see in kind of the darker pinks up through here, those are the places that are under hurricane warnings in effect as of right now. We also have a hurricane watch in effect for the Florida East Coast from Golden Beach southward to Ocean Reef, as well as the Andros Islands and the Bahamas. And so those are going to be those lighter pink areas where we do have the hurricane watches in effect. Going on over, we do have tropical storm warnings in effect for Cuban provinces of Ciego de Avila, Sancti Spiritus, Villas Clara, Camagüey, Las Tunas, Granma, Halogan, and Santiago de Cuba, and Guantanamo, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, the Florida East Coast from the Sebastian Inlet toward the Ocean Reef, Lake Okeechobee, the Florida West Coast from north of Bonita Beach to Tarpon Springs, including Tampa Bay, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for the Cuban province of Matanzas and Cienfuegos, I believe is how you pronounce that. And then also the Florida East Coast north of Sebastian Inlet to Flingler Beach, and the Florida West Coast and the Florida Panhandle north of Tarpon Springs to Indian Pass is where they do have those tropical storm watches in effect. And again, we also have those hurricane watches up into just west of Panama City heading over towards Destin. So this is going to be something we're going to monitor very closely over the next several days. Going on over, this is the 5-day forecast, bringing it up the same way. But I do want to point out one thing here that has changed drastically over the past, really just the past 24 hours, even closer, really over the past 16 to 18 hours. This is a Category 3 storm by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, getting ready to make landfall right in the Destin, Florida area here. And that's been a big change, because what we've seen was the forecast models were thinking it was going to bring it this way, but now it actually kind of cut right up through here, and it's going to bring it up through the straits, and this is going to allow this storm to not only keep momentum, but possibly even gain momentum. And I think these next 24 to 36 hours are going to be crucial to exactly how big of a storm this becomes. Speaking of how big of a storm it becomes, this is the latest GFS model. This was just in. We're maxing out our winds of at 113.4 knots. That's a very, very strong storm, and you can see making landfall somewhere on the southeastern coast of Louisiana, just south and southwest of New Orleans, and of course up here is Lake Pontchartrain, and a very, very strong hurricane making landfall according to the GFS. This would be by 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So we're just going to have to wait and see what this storm does. Since this has kind of missed the main land of Cuba and kind of went more out through the straits right through here, that is kind of making these models think this could be a stronger hurricane. And the bad thing with this becomes there's really not a lot out there to stop it. A lot of the dry air has become more saturated. There's not a lot of shear, and any kind of major jet streams are more up to the north. And there's plenty of warm 85 to 90 degree ocean waters out there to potentially make this a very strong storm. I did want to put up I don't know what happened to it. I had some forecast model tracks here for you, but to show you, but I don't think those got put in the slideshow here. And if they did, I'm not sure where they went. Oh, right there. I guess I skipped over them. And here's the forecast model projections here as we get into the next several days. A lot of these starting to bring them off more towards the west between Orlando and, say, Mobile. But I really still think this could very well swing up and impact the Pensacola area over towards Destin the hardest. But I definitely don't rule out the potential for a landfall somewhere between say New Orleans and Tallahassee area, including places like Biloxi, Gulfport, Mobile, Pensacola, Destin, Fort Walton Beach, over towards Panama City and Tallahassee. Don't rule the potential. If you're in that area, you need to keep a very close eye on the storm. We're going to have a lot more tomorrow. We're going to watch this thing very, very carefully. Once we get more model runs in, we are still operating off a lot of older forecast models at this hour. Tomorrow afternoon, once we get more forecast models in and this thing has continued to move and we see exactly how it's going to kind of go through the straits, we'll be able to tell you more. So if you're along the southeast, get your hurricane plans in play here and get ready to do what is necessary to stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend.